Welcome back to Edge Seekers. This is the first episode of my new series, The 3 Pillars Before Every Trade. In this series, I'm breaking down the 3 things I look at before placing any trade, the same 3 pillars that form the foundation of my entire trading process. Today we're starting with step 1, the macro ladder. Before I ever touch a chart or look at price action, I want to know which currencies actually deserve my attention. So the macro ladder is basically a ranking system. It tells me which currencies are fundamentally strong and which are weak, and that's based purely on macroeconomic data and policy trends. So you can think of it as my directional compass. If I want to buy strength and sell weakness, I need a consistent data-driven way to measure what's strong and what's weak, and that's what the ladder gives me. So how do I build it? I look at 6 main inputs, all long-term fundamental drivers of currency movement, and I use ChatGPT to process it all for me. So I look at things such as central bank policy stance, inflation, employment, growth, trade data, interest rate differentials, geopolitical factors, rate expectations, as well as structural shifts. So these are all macro drivers and not short-term sentiment or noise. That's important because the goal of the ladder is stability. I want it to move when the fundamentals move, not every time the market panics over a headline. In the past, I used to factor risk sentiment directly into the ladder, but that caused problems. Risk sentiment changes fast, and it's often just positioning, and including it made the ladder flip-flop too much. So now I treat risk sentiment separately, and I came up with a technical solution for dealing with it through a concept called session intention, which I'll cover in step 3 of this series. That's where I use technical analysis to read the intention for the session, and the ladder itself stays clean, i.e. purely macroeconomic. I found in my trading that relying on pure technicals alone can lead to many false signals, even if you're trading with the predominant trend. My testing showed better performance amongst trades that were aligned with the macro narrative compared to trades that didn't align. I find that the macro ladder gives you a directional bias that is grounded in hard reality and goes more to the why behind institutional capital flows. So when big players allocate or unwind positions, it's not because of a candlestick pattern on the 15-minute chart. It's because yield differentials have shifted or policy expectations have changed. That's the edge, so anchoring technical analysis inside the macro narrative. So once I've built the ladder, I rank the currencies from strongest to weakest. Then I pair them strong versus weak. That becomes my directional bias and my currency pair filter. So if the US dollar is near the top of the ladder and yen is near the bottom, I know that US dollar yen longs are fundamentally supported. If the Aussie dollar is strong but New Zealand dollar is weak, I'm looking for an Aussie New Zealand long position. I also apply a fundamental conviction tag to the currency pairings depending on the rank. So a currency that is more than 2 positions away can be considered pro-macro. If it's only 1 position away, it can be considered marginal macro. And if it's next in rank, the pairing is considered macro neutral. I only consider currencies that are pro-macro, and if those rankings slip throughout the duration of a trade, those trades will attract tighter risk management. And then I can further filter the currency pairs considered based on the sessions. So for instance, I can look at pro-macro tag trades that involve Asian currencies during Asia session, European currencies during Frankfurt and London session, as well as US or Canadian currencies during New York session. After doing some pre-session analysis, I usually find that only 1 or 2 of the currency pairs are at a location where I can consider a trade. So those 2 measures do a really good job of pinpointing the best opportunities at the best times. So how often is this macro ladder updated? Well, it's done regularly, basically as the news comes in. And this keeps me aligned with the evolving macro picture. You can start to build your own macro ladder by using AI prompts on ChatGPT, and you can number each iteration to keep track of all the changes. Here are some more tips when building your macro ladder. You can take screenshots of the previous macro ladder iteration when updating, so ChatGPT can easily reference and not get confused. You can attach up to 10 screenshots at a time per iteration update. Basically, you want to list the major currencies that you want included, list the data inputs that you want included, and note any significant shifts from previous iterations so that progression can be tracked and you can check over what AI is doing. So that's the first pillar, the macro ladder, and it's where I build my directional bias and decide which currencies to consider in my sessions. In the next video, we'll move into step 2, location and technical frameworks, where I'll show you how I take that macro bias and align it with technicals on the chart. If you found this breakdown useful, hit like, drop a comment and subscribe, and as always, let's keep building your edge together.